You said that he doesn't change. You know, that God does not change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, as we hear so often. Mm-hmm. But some of the text that has been removed has allowed the doctrine of dispensationalism to move in. And we teach people that God does in fact change. He changes the way he deals with groups of people in different times. And that's a man-made doctrine. That is a tradition of man that can only grow and thrive because of the absence of some of these other texts that tie it so perfectly together.
Well, now, I don't want to go down the rabbit trail because it'd be another discussion for another time as well. But yes, at one time, before Christ, he dealt with people a whole lot different than he did the old covenant, so to speak. And then we come in with Christ fulfilling the law, and we're under grace and the blood covenant with Christ and him being the sacrifice. Then, you know, his grace and his mercy is a lot more long suffering with people today, but it doesn't change who God is. He's a God of mercy, a God of love, a God of justice. Changing how, you know, I deal with people differently at church. I'm dealing with several people right now, just trying to help them and counsel them. And every person I see at a hospital, I may deal with a little differently, but it doesn't change who.
Sure. No, and I get that.
He deals with people differently in different times and situations doesn't change who God is at all.
No, and I understand that, but that is not what is taught. Dispensationalism teaches basically two completely different personhoods of God. And like you said, this is a rabbit trail. I would love to have you back on so we can have another discussion. But when you said the old covenant, I would challenge you, and I would just push back gently. The new covenant comes at the resurrection. And how can I say that? Because in the new covenant, we're gonna have God's law written on our heart, where we can never sin again.
Sure.
If we were in, okay, do you have God's law written on your heart right now? Are you incapable of ever sinning again?
No, everybody's
then we're not in the new covenant. I would submit that we're still in the old covenant.
Well, that is a good discussion for another time.
It would be great. It would be.
But I'm reading, under the old covenant, there was a lot of things they had to do, a lot of the sacrifices, a lot of the things. But when Christ came, they didn't go to no priest anymore. The veil was torn from top to bottom. He was the supreme sacrifice once and for all. We can boldly approach the throne where we can find grace and mercy in the time of need.
Oh, man. But Jesus he absolutely is our mediator. He is our high priest. He is our way to the Father. I agree with that. That could be a very, very interesting discussion, though, especially as far as what they stopped doing and what they didn't. I would say that there's evidence, even after Christ's resurrection, of certain aspects of the law still being carried out. I encourage you, if you've got 20 or 30 minutes, I'll shoot you a link after this of the video that I just did on God's law, on the danger of lawlessness. I'll shoot that over to you because there's a lot of good information out there. Very interesting. And now we're at a huge issue of I say this and you say that, and we can begin to see how dispensationalism plays a factor in God changing. But we know God doesn't change. Even in the new covenant, God's first orchestrated order, his first rules, his set of rules for righteous living are not going to change.
No.
We will still keep every aspect of his law in the new kingdom. And there's bountiful scriptural support for that. It's not one of those things to where he's like, okay, this is how I want you to live right now. Okay, now my son's about to come on the scene and we're going to forget all of this until he comes back to take you into the kingdom. And then we're going to start it all back up. That is a changing God. Now, no, we can't go to the temple. We can't make sacrifices. We don't have a Levite priesthood anymore. Certain laws are for women. Certain laws are for farmers. Certain things don't apply to us.
Keep all of the laws the same as we break part of it, we're breaking it all, right?
The laws that apply to us.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have a Levite priesthood?
No, we do not.
So it is impossible.
The Jews did back in the end of the time, for sure.
It is right, but it is impossible to keep that aspect.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, okay, we're getting off in the weeds, but a lot of times you hear the 613 laws. I'm talking about God's laws, not the man-made traditions that the Pharisees and scribes added to it. Not that you have to lay still and breathe shallow on the Sabbath. Don't take too many steps. That is man-made tradition, and that is exactly why Jesus reprimanded them.
You got to take the Sabbath elevator, and when you're in
trust me, that's not God's first set of instructions. That has been added to, but that would be a great discussion for another time.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have you back for that if you're up for it.
I'm sure I would be.
Awesome.